Hello and welcome to Monson Made This. My name is Michael. Normally I'm here cooking vegan food or giving you updates about my plant-based diet, but today I am giving you a video that has been very heavily requested, highly requested, and it is all about my kitchen gadgets and tools. So today's video is all about the things that I use on a regular basis. My criteria was things that are going to help you eat, cook, prepare, serve foods for a plant-based diet. And also, these are things that I use at least once a week, very regularly. I do have a ton of products or gadgets and gizmos in my cupboards, and a lot of them I don't use. I've been cooking since I was in middle school. I'm 40 years old now. I've accumulated things pretty much every Christmas or gift-giving holidays since I can remember has been me receiving kitchen stuff, or if I treat myself, I'm buying myself some sort of kitchen thing. So I've got a lot. I don't use all of it all the time, but what I'm going to show you today is stuff that I use very regularly that I find is very helpful, especially right now while I'm going through this plant-based diet. So without further ado, let us get right into it. And the first category of items I want to talk about is storage. If you have been around my channel for a while, you know that I love wide mouth mason jars. Behind me in pretty much every video are mason jars, then they have all of my grains and beans and random things, and I love the way that they look, and I love the ease of having them all there. But I also use them for storing things behind the cupboards and in the fridge, and I converted over to this like mason jar system a couple of years ago because I was thinking of it like Lego is a play system and everything interlocks, and I wanted a storage system that was similar so I wasn't always searching for lids. So I phased things out and brought in all these mason jars, and now I have all these insane lids and different sizes. This particular lid is for sprouting, but I also use this when I soak my beans. I can pour and strain out the water, so this is really helpful. I also use this to store beans if I've made quite a bit. This quart jar is great for so many things. This is a nice flip top lid. You can use it for drinks, or if you have things that you want to like sprinkle out, that's also a really great lid for. I also have a few different colors. I'm only showing you this green one. I also have some blue ones. Anytime I'm at a thrift store and I see like a cool color mason jar that happens to be wide mouth, I'll pick it up because it's a slight obsession. This size here is 1.5 pints, and this is great for drinks. I've staged it this way because this is pretty much how Ben uses these every day. He has his latte in these, and I have these really cool lids that are for straws so that you can take them with you in your car and you can feel real cool because you've got a mason jar with your drink in it, but these lids are really helpful. The pint jar is probably the most used. This is perfect for storing things like half of an avocado or half of a block of tofu, and it's probably the most used jar up there as well. And the lid on here, this white jar, is probably the most used style of lid that I have as well. It's just great. The metal ones have a tendency to rust over time, so I have these so that it prevents that. They do make bamboo ones, which I really want, but I'm content with these for right now, so maybe one day I will upgrade from white plastic to bamboo. This lid here, if you've seen my fermentation video, this is for fermenting things. It lets gases out, but other stuff doesn't come in. And this, of course, uses the metal ring for that. And then, of course, your classic one that comes with the jars when you buy them. And these are great. Like I said, they do have a tendency to rust over time, but if this is what you got, there's no shame in that. Now, these are all I said of the wide mouth variety. I do have smaller ones, which all of my spices are in this size, which unfortunately isn't part of the wide mouth system, but it's a system unto itself. And I do still save jars randomly. This is from Better Than Bouillon, and I just love this size jars for smaller quantities of things. Now, as much as I want to use these wide mouth jars for everything, sometimes it's easier just to put leftovers in something like these Pyrex containers. I just have 3 sizes here today. Of course, not the system that I like because all the lids are different sizes, but sometimes it's nice to have shallower ones like this so you're not digging into a bowl, or excuse me, not digging into a jar trying to find or to fish ingredients out. So I really like these, and I have some other sizes as well. I love these silicone lids. These are perfect for basically turning whatever container, glasses, bowls you have into storage containers. They just slip right over the top, they stretch. Perfect. I have them in this kind of style as well. I have a bunch of different sizes. These just aren't as nice, and I feel like they always kind of attract dirt and stuff, and they just lay flat, which I don't think gives a seal that I really care for. I also don't have any plastic bags, like Ziploc bags. I don't have any plastic wrap, and that's just, again, I've just kind of phased that out in lieu of other things. I love just saving old bread bags to use when I make bread in my bread maker. I just put the bread that I make in an old bread bag and it stays pretty fresh. Or I use these stasher bags, which are silicone. You can actually even like cook in these. I have a video for shredded mushroom, like Frito pie, and I actually cook the mushrooms in one of these bags. It's really nice because they can steam and it's silicone, so it goes right into the oven. Now, in terms of storing fresh produce, I have a couple tricks that I really like, or a couple tools that I like for storing them. One of them are produce bags. Now, I don't think you can actually, every store is different, but these are for putting produce in at the grocery store instead of like plastic bags. But I really like these for storing food in the fridge or produce in the fridge because they breathe, because they're mesh, but they also kind of retain some of the moisture so things don't dry out, but they also don't mold because it is breathable. And then finally, this is a lettuce spinner, and I have it in this size, and I have smaller ones for things like berries. But these are great because you can put all your greens in here, you can wash them, spin them dry, and then if you have room in your fridge, you can actually just store them in this so that the greens stay suspended. They don't sit in any moisture. They last so much longer. I find when I store like greens and different like berries in these kind of containers, they just last so much longer. So that is it for the storage things that I use very regularly. Pretty much anytime I cook, things will be stored in one of these type of systems. And I'm gonna clean this up and then I'll be back with the next category of kitchen gadgets. The next category I want to share with you are my utensils, and these are the tools that I use regularly to cook, prepare food, and normally I have most of what I use right here next to me so I can just grab them while I'm cooking. I do have a few hidden away just because aesthetically I try to keep like bamboo and metal here. I did make a conscious decision a year or two ago to kind of phase out. I had a lot of just like black plastic utensils and I just kind of phased those out, and as I acquired new metal or wood ones or bamboo ones, I kind of donated the plastic ones. So one of the things I purchased, I phased out some wooden spoons and I went for these spurtles, and I have 4 different sizes of these. Some of them have what are they called, slits in them, and these are great just for stirring, using for wooden spoon purposes. I just think they're really cool. Apparently they're for like oatmeal, I guess, originally for oatmeal in Ireland, but I saw them on, Rachel Ray was cooking with them from home one time, and I did some research and came away with these that I now know as spurtles. And I also found this recently. It's a fish spatula. I guess that's the name of it because it's used normally for fish, but this is pretty much the only spatula that I use now. It's just really nice and thin, and I'll show you what pots and pans I'm using here in a minute, but this is really great for flipping things, flipping tofu, veggies. This is just like my new favorite and pretty much the only spatula that I use. I also really like this. I'm not sure what the name of it actually is, but it's, I guess, sometimes maybe a spider or a strainer, but this is the tool that I use when I make beans and I take them out of the Instant Pot and put them into a jar. So this strainer, I've bought metal ones of this, but for some reason, like this particular size and shape for wide mouth jars, like I just like this one. So even though I've got some metal ones, this is the one I always grab. So I'll cook my beans in the Instant Pot, scoop them out with this. It's just a really nice way to transfer beans, and it's just a really good kind of all-purpose. It's good for pastas as well. Same kind of thing, but different. This is actually a plating spoon, and it's got holes. I call this my bean spoon. When I have beans in jars, this is what I use to get them out because it strains the liquid out. And I find that I use this quite often. I have a smaller utensil jar where I also keep other like tablespoon size spoons. And I just like to cook with these, actually. I was watching a lot of I always watch a lot of food TV or watch people cook on YouTube. And there was a chef I saw that was using tablespoons to do all their cooking. It's a very chefy thing. So I was like, ooh, I want to cook with tablespoons. So that's why I got these, and I actually use them quite a bit, and I like them as my kind of daily tools. Tongs, also, I can't live without tongs for flipping things. I also have like a smaller tweezer tong. Ben actually uses this one more than I do for flipping vegan nuggets in an air fryer, but it's just a really great tool for moving smaller things. Again, it has like a very like chefy plating kind of appearance, but it surprisingly has a lot of uses. The same note, I like these metal chopsticks for flipping things, turning things, stirring things, cooking pastas and noodles. I really like these chopsticks. Strainer. This actually I got from my grandparents. My grandma passed away, my grandfather was having a yard sale, and I found this, so it's, I guess, my grandma's old strainer, and this has just become my go-to. I do have bigger colanders for straining things, but this I keep right near my stove, and it's kind of the best size for straining small amounts of things, for rinsing beans, grains, lentils. It's just like the perfect size for me for what I need to rinse. Even though I tried to go with mostly like wooden or bamboo and metal, I think that having silicone tools, there's nothing to beat these, especially if you're scraping bowls or trying to get every last bit out of whatever it is that you've got food in. I like the smaller ones for getting things out of jars. This is great for getting things out of larger bowls, but there's just something with the silicone that you can't get the same amount of food out of a dish as you can, or you get more out of a dish with these than you can with any of these other tools. So silicones are a must-have for me. This juicer I really love. This is my one citrus juicer. I've had the press kind, and I don't think it gets the yield that this does. I know there's other kinds that have holes that, you know, get the seeds out, but normally I use this in conjunction with this. So I'll juice the lemon, pour it through, that'll collect the seeds. So this is a really nice pair. This came from a thrift store, so I don't know, I don't have a link for this on Amazon, but these are really available at thrift stores. I see them all the time, but again, there's all sorts of kinds, but this particular type of juicing mechanism is my personal favorite. Let's talk about cutting. This is a chef's knife. I mean, maybe it's a Santoku, I don't really know. But my mom bought me this set of knives, which if you've seen on my channel, I have knives under the shelves, and I've got a few different sizes, a few different kinds. This is pretty much the only knife I ever pick up. It's about 6.5 to 7 inches long, and it does pretty much everything that I need to do. Every time I pick up a different knife, it just doesn't feel right. This is the one for me. It's just like the perfect weight, and I think it's just because it's the one that I kind of taught myself how to cook with, so it's the one I'm most comfortable with. This is a cutting glove, which is here with a small mandolin. I have a larger mandolin, but a small one is nice as well. This glove prevents you from nicking your hand on a blade if you're cutting on a mandolin. So whatever size the mandolin is, it just prevents you from getting cut, so that you don't have to worry, because anytime I see somebody using a mandolin, or anytime I use a mandolin, I'm like, they're gonna take off the palm of their hand. But this eliminates that fear, and it's actually really handy. Of course, you need a good cutting board if you're cutting anything. I have a really nice booze board. It's huge, it's thick, it's heavy, it's amazing. But I find that whenever I go to cut something, I choose these like small little bamboo boards that I actually found, I think at Home Goods or something like that. There were 3 sizes. I broke the biggest one, but anytime I need to cut something, I just grab one of these. Just the smaller size just seems much more convenient. Sometimes I'll pull out the large one when I want to, you know, when I film, but on the day-to-day, these are the ones that I pull just because they're the easiest to use. So that is it for my utensils. Again, I'm going to reset, and I'll be right back with the next category. Next category is pots and pans, and if you've watched any old videos that have like kitchen tours, you'll have seen that I was really obsessed with this Curtis Stone nonstick pan, and I used it for everything. It was my one pan, and it's still good. It's still in the cupboard. It's used very rarely, but I still have it. But a while ago, I switched over from nonstick to cast iron and stainless steel. So what I'm showing you here are the tools that are the pots and pans that I've been using a lot lately. This here is a 10-inch Wagner cast iron. This actually came from a thrift store. I have a second one of these, and I think I have a Le Creuset version, but I love this pan. It's one of my go-tos if I'm not going to this, which is a Lodge flat griddle, and this thing could probably live on the stovetop because I use this for so many things. I use it for grilling tofu. Anytime I just need like a flat, hot surface, this is the thing that I pull out, and as long as there's no liquid, and I don't need to pull out a pan like this because of, you know, there being some sort of liquid, this is the one that I choose. Grilling vegetables, everything gets done on here. I would like one that did have kind of the ridges so you get the pretty lines, but you know, you can cook pancakes, you can cook everything on this thing. It's just like the perfect size and shape. It only goes on one burner. It's not like a double burner situation because I'm not really cooking that much food. Like I said, I switched over from nonstick to cast iron and stainless. This pot though, I've had, you can see that it's well loved. This, I think, was my mom's when I was at least even in grade school or junior high, and I inherited it when I came to college. This is still, if I need a pot, this is the one pot that I grab. It's great for heating things up, for soups. It's just, again, just sort of like the knife. It's what I learned to cook with and cook on, so it's the one I'm most comfortable with. But in terms of pans that are stainless steel, it's a little bit dirty, but this is a really nice 10-inch stainless steel. You do need to use a little bit of fat in this normally to keep things moving. Unless you get it, nice and hot. It usually is it's not non-stick by any means, but you can usually get away with things not sticking in it. But these are really nice. Usually though, if I'm gonna be cooking something, I'll take out the cast iron unless it's something maybe that's really acidic. I don't wanna ruin the seasoning that I have on the cast iron, so I will pull out the stainless steel. These two Le Creuset pots, actually, this one was on sale. It was like a return at Bed Bath & Beyond. This is just a really nice Dutch oven. This is great for larger batches of soups and stews and chilies. It's also great for using to bake bread. And then I have this smaller Le Creuset pot, well loved. My mom gave this to me for Christmas a long time ago. It's been with me through the years, and this is sort of if I need a second pot, this is the one that I'll use. I really love this as well. I just really like the cast iron and stainless steel. You don't have to worry about anything that comes along with nonstick, and as long as you take care of them, they theoretically should last a lifetime, which is kind of problematic when you like kitchen stuff and kitchen gadgets like I do, because you're like, well, the stuff that I have is supposed to last generations, so I can't really get new stuff because the stuff I have is gonna last forever. Anyway, first world problem. All right, I'm gonna reset this and then we are ready for, I believe, well, I have two more categories for you, so I'll be right back. Next category I want to talk about is the oven and baking. And I have this baking sheet here. This is called a half-size baking sheet. This actually did come from a thrift store. Really nice, heavy duty. This is great, but I never cook directly on this. I use a Silpat, which is a silicone mat, keeps things from sticking, which is really great. It's great for roasting veggies, tofu. I usually cook on pretty high heat. I like around 425 to 450 when I roast things, and it's great because this prevents them from sticking. I also like it if I'm rolling out dough. I can do it on the Silpat and it doesn't really stick. But I also bought a few years ago these. These are copper mats, and it's sort of the same thing. It's a non-stick surface, similar to a Silpat, but it's a little bit thinner, and I feel like food actually browns better through this. I have a smart oven, which I'll show you in the next category of small appliances, and pretty much I use these in place of like baking sheets in there. I just put the food directly on this, on the rack, and it's really great because things brown up really nicely and nothing sticks to these. I think it's like 2 or 3 of these for $9, and you can cut them into different sizes that you want. So these are perfect. I love these copper mats. I also have 2 baking stones. I have a smaller oven, or a big oven, and then a smart oven, and we have a baking stone in each of them. These are great for so many things, but we do make a lot of pizzas here at home. I've been making a whole wheat pizza crust. Ben loves making pizzas, and just having a pizza stone really does give you that texture that you get from a pizza shop, and it just kind of turns your oven into something better. The last thing I want to show you is this baking dish. I have a couple different shapes of this. This is a Le Creuset baking dish. It's just 2 of us. We're not baking large amounts of casseroles or baked dishes, so normally I like to make them in this. It's a smaller size. I do have larger Pyrex glass dishes for larger casseroles, which you've seen on this channel, but for day-to-day kind of baking or smaller things, I really like these Le Creuset ceramic pieces. Because I have a couple different sizes of those. Very last thing here is this drying rack. I know it doesn't have anything to do with baking, but I have a couple different sizes of these, and these are great just for cooling things off. For when you take something hot out of the oven, you can set them directly on that. And these are just nice to have around, and I pretty much, anytime I bake something, this comes out to help me cool whatever it is off that I've just baked. That is it for the baking category, so we're on to the very last category, which is the one I'm sure you were all waiting for, which is the small appliances category. The very last category is the one I'm sure you're all waiting for, and that is the small appliance slash gadgets category. And the reason I saved this for last is because I think that if you have a decent knife, a surface to cut things on, a decent pot with a lid, and a pan, you can pretty much do everything. It's nice to have a blender every once in a while, but for the most part, you don't need all of this stuff. However, in my opinion, having these things, it makes prepping ingredients so much easier, and I truly, at this point in my own personal game, probably wouldn't want to live without these. So this is my NutriBullet. I'll start here. This is my favorite blender. I have a Vitamix in the cupboard, and that has not been out since I started using this. It's high speed. It does all the blending of cashews and making sauces that I need it to do. It doesn't have the largest of capacities, but for the two of us and things that I make on a regular basis, this has the power and the capacity that I need. And I love this thing. I use it probably at least every day. Next most used is this Instant Pot. I'm eating beans every single day, and this allows me to cook them. I could either pressure cook them, or I also have this lid here, which allows me to use the Instant Pot as a slow cooker, like a crock pot. I love this thing for so many reasons. I actually have an entire Instant Pot playlist, which I'll either link above or I'll put it down below. So I really wouldn't want to live without my Instant Pot. Same with this air fryer here. I would call myself an early adopter of both of these. I've had them for over 5 years each. And this is currently my favorite way to cook vegetables. I also have an entire air fryer playlist, but putting raw veggies in here, there's actually a video, savory smoothie bowl, and I use it to prep all the veggies. It's just a perfect way to cook vegetables, tofu. It's just definitely the best. Yeah, you could bake things in an oven, but air fryers are amazing. Last thing that's up here right now is this rice cooker. The Instant Pot does cook grains, so you could easily use that for cooking grains, but usually if I'm cooking something in here, I want something else to be able to cook grains in. This is rather expensive. It's not a very cheap piece of machinery. It even kind of like pressure cooks the rice a little bit. But I love this thing. If you are eating rice or grains with most of your meals, this just allows you to cook them perfectly without having to pay any attention to them at all. I'm gonna swap these out with the last 3 of my small appliances, but these are probably my ultimate favorite that I could not, maybe I should say would not want to live without. So let me swap these out and get the last of them. Before I get into these 3, let me show you something that's off to the side, and that is probably the other ones I use quite a bit, but this might be the most used thing in our kitchen, and this is a Breville Smart Oven Air. I'm not sure if they make the same exact model or if it has the same name anymore, but we had one before. We actually sold it on OfferUp, so you could probably find something like this used. They last forever, but we traded up for this one because it does have air fry function. It's got like a bread rising, what is it called? Bread proofing setting as well. It can dehydrate. It does so many things. And even though we use this as a air fryer often, I feel like if I had to choose one air fryer, I would choose the one I showed you previously. But if I had to choose one oven between this and what we call the big oven, I would definitely choose this smart oven. It's just so convenient. It doesn't heat up the whole house. We live in Vegas. It gets up to like 114 in the summer. So having something like this that you can still bake in without the whole house getting super hot is great. We have a bread or a pizza stone in here as well, so we can make pizzas in this. It's great. We love this thing. And like I said, compared to like, we use the Instant Pot a lot, the NutriBullet a ton, but this might actually get the most action in the kitchen. So back up here to these items. Let's go left to right. Food processors. Food processors are different than blenders for making hummus. I really like this for just grinding things up. Yes, you can pretty much get away a lot of the time with maybe using a blender or a NutriBullet, but if you're not trying to liquefy something, you definitely want a food processor, and I use this definitely at least once a week. Pretty much have popcorn every night before going to bed. I was using the stovetop method with a little bit of oil in a pan. I think that tastes better, but since I have been watching the amount of oil that I'm consuming, just trying to do this whole food plant-based diet gig, using an air popper means that I can eat even more popcorn. Lastly is my bread maker. I famously got this at a thrift store for about $3. I've said it in the past that every time I go to a thrift store, I see a bread maker or a few bread makers. So if you go to a thrift store, look on your phone. I feel like I turned on my stove back here. Oh, I did. I accidentally hit the stove. Always see bread makers at thrift stores. There's usually a couple, so pull out your phone, Google, see if the brands are decent that you see there. This one happens to be the same brand as my rice cooker, which I love. This one's nice because you can do 2-pound loaves horizontally, which is, I think, kind of a rare setup for a lot of bread machines. But since, again, eating more whole food plant-based, I'm able to make my own whole wheat bread in here, and I've been making a loaf pretty much once a week, and so I really don't want to live without this right now either. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If there's more questions you have or more things you want to know about what I have in my kitchen, definitely comment below. If there's any other type of like kitchen tour videos, I do have a couple on the channel, so I will have those linked as well. But if there's any other things that you want to know about my kitchen or about the way that I prepare and cook food, definitely comment below and let me know. So thank you all so much for watching. Promise next time I'll be back with a recipe video. I'm planning on doing like a week's worth of videos that are all in this a grain, a bean, a veggie, a green, and a seed style that I've been eating. So I'm really excited to do that, so stay tuned. Thank you all so much, and I will see you very soon. Bye.
Ryan Little.